We're going to start off by reading first in James chapter 1, 22 through 25. James 1, 22 through 25. It says, "But be doers of the word, not hearers only, deceiving yourselves. For if anyone is a hearer of the word and not a doer, he is like a man observing his natural face in a mirror. For he observes himself, goes away, and immediately forgets what kind of man he was. But he who looks into the perfect law of liberty and continues in it, it is not a forgetful hearer, but a doer of the work. This one will be blessed in what he does." Have you ever heard a message where you hear something, whether it can be a sermon or maybe even on social media, where you hear it and you see it and you read it, or maybe it could be scripture sometimes, but then you kind of just try to apply it, but then forget about it because you hear it, but it goes away. And that's kind of what James talks about today, and that's more of the message what I want to talk about tonight. And I'm really just going to talk shortly about 3 points and how we can, instead of just being only hearers, but also doers of the word. And this is something that non-Christians and Christians can always benefit and have edification from it. Okay, so the first point that I'm going to talk about will be, I'll put my notes, is active participation. So how do we actively participate in the word? It was simply, obviously, it talks about here, it's not just to only hear the word, but also start applying it in our lives in a way that can help other Christians and also people who are not Christians also, non-Christians, right? So that means that if we read the Bible, if we try to sit here and apply it somehow, we have to start being able to actually do things that will help us towards that, which means going to church. Try not to, even though our lives gets in the way, we have to do our best to participate in those things, because at the end of the day, anytime the assembly comes together, we can always benefit from it. And it's a reminder of it throughout the days that we're not going to forget and always be able to come and bring us back into those things. And not just the church also, but participating in other things. It can be things not involving in the church. It can be also having a class or you're holding it in your own home, on your own time, not necessarily even involving the church, but you're doing it on your own. That's something that's going to help people who are non-Christians and Christians as well. So there's many other ways you can participate, but there's just a few examples. The second is application in our daily lives. I had a co-worker that I dealt with a couple of days ago, and it's funny because I just started working here, so it's not very long either, but we had a problem where had differences, and the way that I approached that, I learned it a lot, honestly, from the Bible, and how I approach someone with meekness. And the person just came at me and was telling me things and claiming these things, and I just reflected with very, very calmly, and I learned that from the Bible, because I wasn't always like that. So it's those small things where we behave ourselves, and then also I had a ceremony today where I was at the school township, and I said, hey, we have to head out because I'm going to Bible study. So those little small things that, even though we're not always going to be able to get to explain fully, people see those things, and so they'll start applying it in our lives, and they can see those things and how we behave ourselves. So in that sense, this is how we can apply it in our daily life. And third is, actually, let me back up too, because I forgot about this. It talks about where it talks about the reflection. So hearing the word, but then you forget about the kind of person you are, is exactly what James talked about in the mirror. So I just want to point that out because I did forget about that. But back to the blessings. Ultimately, when we hear the word, we're obeying it. We go from being hearers to doers. And from that, we receive blessings. And from the blessing that we ultimately seek, I like what Josh did from his sermon from last week, was to have the ultimate thing, which is to have the gift of God, which is to have life everlasting. It's something that we should all seek for, not just the blessings of to potentially maybe have better health, even though that is a good thing. Maybe riches, maybe you might get riches from it. I don't know. Maybe God sees somehow that you can do something with that, and it may be your position. It may not be that, but those aren't the things that we seek God for. We seek it to have everlasting life, and so that way, it is the almost a perfect example how we can go from being a non-Christian to finally being doers of the word. And that's how we can do those things.